Hourist travel Ethiopia. The natural beauty of Ethiopia amazes the first-time visitor. Ethiopia is a land of rugged mountains some 25 or over 4,000 meters high, broad savanna, lakes and rivers. The unique Rift Valley is a remarkable region of volcanic lakes, with their famous collections of birdlife, great escarpments and stunning vistas. Tisisat, the Blue Nile Falls, must rank as one of the greatest natural spectacles in Africa today. With 14 majorwildlife reserves, Ethiopia provides a microcosm of the entire sub-Saharan ecosystem. Birdlife abounds, and indigenous animals from the rare Walia ibex to the shy wild ass roam free just as nature intended. Ethiopia, after the rains, is a land decked with flowers and with many more native plants than most countries in Africa. Among the many natural tourist attractions, only the principal ones are briefly I will give you now. Stay with me. If you are new for my channel, welcome, subscribe now and be my family. You will enjoy my videos. If you have comment, give me down below. Thank you. Number 1. The Blue Nile Falls, Tisisat Falls. The River Nile, over 800 kilometers in length within Ethiopia and the longest river in Africa, holds part of its heart in Ethiopia. From Lake Tana, the Blue Nile, known locally as a bay, flows for 800 kilometers within Ethiopia to meet the White Nile in Khartoum to form the great river that gives life to Egypt and the Sudan. It has been said that the Blue Nile contributes up to 80% of the Nile's flow. The Blue Nile Falls are about an hour by tour bus from Bahar Dar. Known locally as Tisisat, the falls are over 400 meters, 1,312 feet, wide and 45 meters, 148 feet deep. Because of a series of dams near Bahar Dar, they aren't as impressive as they used to be. Nowhere is it more spectacular than where it thunders over the Tisisat Falls, literally, smoking water, near Bahar Dar. Here millions of gallons of water cascade over the cliff face and into a gorge, creating spectacular rainbows, in one of the most awe-inspiring displays in Africa. The Blue Nile Falls can easily be reached from Bahir Dar, and the scenic beauty of the Blue Nile Gorge, 225 kilometers from Addis Ababa, can be enjoyed as part of an excursion from the capital. The second is the Saf Omar Cave. Saf Omar, a tiny Muslim village in Bale, is the site of an amazing complex of natural caves, cut by the Wab River as it found its way from the nearby mountains. The settlement, which is a religious site, is named after a local sheikh. Armed with torches and official map, visitors to Saf Omar make their way underground, far into the bowels of the earth, beside a subterranean stream, and there can see an extraordinary number of arched portals, high eroded ceilings and deep echoing chambers. Number 3. The Rift Valley. The Ethiopian Rift Valley, which is part of the famous East African Rift Valley, comprises numerous hot springs, beautiful lakes and a variety of wildlife. The valley is the result of two parallel faults in the Earth's surface, between which, in distant geological time, the crust was weakened, and the land subsided. Ethiopia is often referred to as the water tower of Eastern Africa because of the many rivers that pour off the high tableland. The Great Rift Valley's passage through Ethiopia is marked by a chain of 7 lakes. Each of the 7 lakes has its own special life and character and provides ideal habitats for the exuberant variety of flora and fauna that make the region a beautiful and exotic destination for tourists. Most of the lakes are suitable and safe for swimming and other water sports. Besides, Lakes Abiata and Shala are ideal places for bird watchers. Most of the Rift Valley lakes are not fully exploited for touristic purposes except Lake Langano, where tourist-class hotels are built. The Rift Valley is also a site of numerous natural hot springs, and the chemical contents of the hot springs are highly valued for their therapeutic purposes, though at present they are not fully utilized. In short, the Rift Valley is endowed with many beautiful lakes, numerous hot springs, warm and pleasant climate and a variety of wildlife. It is considered as one of the most ideal areas for the development of international tourism in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, the oldest independent nation in Africa, has a heritage dating back to 1st century AD. Traders from Greece, Rome, Persia and Egypt knew of the riches of what is now Ethiopia, and by the 1st century AD, Aksum was the capital of a great empire. This realm became one of the first Christian lands of Africa. Late in the 10th century, Aksum declined and a new Zagwe dynasty, centered what is now Lalibela, ruled the land. Aksum, Lalibela and Gondar now provide our greatest historical legacy. It was in the 16th century that the son of the great explorer Vasco da Gama came to Ethiopia, but then found a land of many kingdoms and provinces beset by feuds and war. Legend has it that Emperor Menelik I, the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, brought the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem to Aksum, where he settled and established one of the world's longest-known, uninterrupted monarchical dynasties. This is only one example of Ethiopia's magnificent history, which encompasses legend and tradition, mystery and fact, from a powerful and religious ancient civilization. The well-trodden path through Ethiopia's famous and fascinating historic places takes you through a scenically magnificent world of fairy tale names, such as Lalibela, Gondar, Debre Damo and Bahar Dar. Several of Ethiopia's more remote areas are excellent for walking safaris, which are offered by several good tour operators in the country. Walking tours, best planned for the dry season, offer the traveler the opportunity for awe-inspiring vantage points from which to view many of Ethiopia's natural wonders, cultural riches and architectural heritage. In Gondar, there are fairy tale castles dating back to the 17th century. In Harar, the visitor can enjoy the incense-flavored mysteries of narrow alleyways and towering minarets. In the 19th century, the great Emperor Menelik led us towards the modern state of Ethiopia, and the country's passage to modernization began. The followings are some of our historical attractions. Number 4, Aksum. Ethiopia's most ancient city and the capital of the historic Aksumite state, is the site of many remarkable monolithic stone stelae, or obelisks, the three most important being decorated to represent multi-storied buildings, complete with doors and windows. The largest obelisk, which was 35 meters long and weighed 500 tons, is the biggest piece of stone ever cut by humanity anywhere in the world, but today it lies broken on the ground. Near it stands a smaller but nevertheless most impressive 24-meter-high obelisk, the pride of Ethiopia. A somewhat larger obelisk was taken to Rome, on the orders of the Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, in 1937. All three sections of the 1,700-year-old Aksum obelisk has arrived back in Ethiopia, 68 years after it was looted by Italian fascists. It was eventually dismantled into three pieces in 2004 in preparation for its journey home, an operation which is costing Italy an estimated €6 million, £4.1 million. The monument is due to be re-erected after the rainy season. Aksum, in its day, was a great commercial center, issuing its own currency and trading with Egypt, Arabia, Persia, India and even Ceylon. The settlement was also the site of Ethiopia's oldest church, which dated back to the coming of Christianity as the state religion, early in the 4th century. The original building has long since disappeared, but a structure erected on its site by Emperor Fasilides in the early 17th century is still there. A nearby outhouse is the reputed repository of the biblical Ark of the Covenant. This historic relic cannot be seen, but visitors there can see and photograph a number of the remarkable crowns that belonged to several notable Ethiopian monarchs of the past. Just out of the town, the remains of an early Aksumite palace, popularly thought to have belonged to the Queen of Sheba, are well worth a visit. The remains are located at Dangor, near the mountain from which the obelisks were originally excavated. The beautifully worked tombs of several ancient Aksumite rulers and the local archaeological museum are also worth a visit. About 45% of the Ethiopian population is Muslim. Most of the Christians belonging to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, whose 4th century beginnings came long before Europe accepted Christianity. A further small percentage of the population adheres to traditional and other beliefs, including Judaism. Number 5, Lalibela. Lalibela, a medieval settlement in the Lasta area of Wallo, lies at the center of an extensive complex of rock churches. Some can be reached by 1 or 2 hours drive, others are a full day's journey. Lalibela has 11 remarkable rock-hewn monolithic churches, believed to have been built by King Lalibela in the late 12th or early 13th century. These notable structures are carved, inside and out, into the solid rock, and are considered to be among the wonders of the world. Each building is architecturally unique, but each reflects beautifully executed craftsmanship, and several are decorated with fascinating paintings. These astonishing edifices remain places of living worship to this day. Number 6, Addis Ababa. With a population of more than 7 million people, Addis Ababa is not only the political capital but also the economic and social nerve center of Ethiopia. Founded by Emperor Menelik in 1887, this big, sprawling, hospitable city still bears the stamp of his exuberant personality. More than 21,000 hectares in area, Addis Ababa is situated in the foothills of the 3,000-meter Entoto Mountains and rambles pleasantly across many wooded hillsides and gullies cut with fast-flowing streams. Wide, tree-lined streets, fine architecture, glorious weather and the incongruity of donkey trains along the boulevards make Addis Ababa a city of surprises and a delightful place to explore. The clear mountain air gives the city the bracing atmosphere of a summer highland resort. It enjoys a mild climate, with an average temperature of 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Addis Ababa stands at the very heart of Ethiopia and there is much to do and to see. The city has a flourishing cultural life, with regular exhibitions and lectures. There are many opportunities to experience Ethiopian music, song and dance, to visit museums and to see the city sights. The Horticultural Society and Ethiopian Wildlife and Natural History Society both organize visits to local gardens and trips out into the countryside. And after all that, what better than to sample some of Ethiopia's culinary delights? Injera, a large, soft, pancake-like crepe, forms the basis of most Ethiopian meals, served with a communal tray on which are a tempting array of spicy sauces. Also distinctive is the Ethiopian traditional drink, tej, a honey wine, or mead. Traditional restaurants abound in Addis Ababa, and offer entertainment in the form of the ubiquitous Masinko minstrels and traditional dance troupes. There are also many other specialist restaurants in the city, including Chinese, Italian, French, Indian, Armenian, Arabic and Greek. Number 7, Debre Damo. Some 76 kilometers from Aksum is the monastery of Debre Damo, closed to women, which is said to have the oldest existing intact church in Ethiopia. Local tradition says that Abuna Aragawi, one of the 9 saints, built the church in the 16th century. The monastery of Debre Damo can only be reached by rope pulley. Number 8, Bahar Dar. Bahar Dar is a small town set on the south-eastern shore of Lake Tana, where local fishermen still use papyrus boats, and just 30 kilometers from the spectacular Tisisat Falls. Here the Blue Nile creates smoking water, an awe-inspiring sight as it plunges into the gorge below. From Bahar Dar one must explore some of the ancient monasteries that have been built around Lake Tana, or on the many islands. These include Dek Stefanos with its priceless collections of icons, as well as the remains of several medieval emperors, Kebran Gabriel and Ura Kadain Merit with its famous frescoes. The colorful local market at Bahir Dar is renowned for its weavers and woodworkers. Number 9, Gondar. Gondar was the 17th-century capital of Ethiopia, and is notable for its medieval castles and churches. The city's unique imperial compound contains a number of castles built between 1632 and 1855 by the various emperors who reigned during this period. These dramatic castles, unlike any other African, display a richness in architecture that reveals the Aksumite traditions as well as the influence of Arabia. Other treasure of Gondar include the 18th-century Palace of Ras Bait, the Bath of Fasilades, the ruined Palace of Kusquam, and the Church of Debre Burhan Selassie with its unique murals. Number 10, Mekelle. Although Lalibela is unique, it is not the sole site of Ethiopia's famous rock-hewn churches. In Tigray near Mekelle, over 200 fine example of these monuments to man's devotion to God as well as his building skills, may be seen and visited. The capital of the Emperor Johannes IV 1871-1889, Mekelle is now the main town of Tigray, the most northern Ethiopian region. The emperor's palace has been turned into a particular interesting museum, with many exhibits of his time and subsequent history. The town is also well known as a transit point for the camel caravans bringing salt up from the arid lands of the Danakil Depression. This makes the market palace a particular interesting place to visit. Intrepid visitors can also make excursions into the Danakil to visit some of the Afar nomads that trek across the region. Number 11, Harar. The city of Harar is an ancient, 1520, and holy city. Always an important trading center, the city is famous for its ancient buildings, its great city walls and is a center of learning Muslim scholarship. The town has 99 mosques. The city is well known for its superb handicrafts that include woven textiles, basketware, silverware and handsomely bound books. Harar has been a place of pilgrimage from all over the world for many years. Harar's attractions are the city walls, and the narrow streets lined with traditional Harari Geger houses. Rimbaud House. A fine building traditional house dating from the period when the French poet Rimbaud lived in Harar. The Hyena Man. As evening falls, local men attract wild hyenas to the city in a bizarre spectacle as they bravely feed these dangerous scavengers. The Ethiopian experience is one that offers something for everyone. Truly, there is no other place on earth quite like it. Number 12 Dire Dawa. Dire Dawa is city in Harar region, Ethiopia. It is a commercial and industrial center located on the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railroad. Manufactures include processed meat, vegetable oil, textiles, and cement. There are also railroad workshops in the city. Dire Dawa was founded in 1902 when the railroad from Djibouti reached the area, and its growth has resulted largely from trade brought by the railroad. Thank you for watching, see you next time.